Welcome to another episode of Purpose of Life. Joining me in the studios is Chacko, marriage counselor, a corporate leader, helps several entrepreneurs. But today we are specifically talking on the title, "And a Happy Married Life." Chacko, once again, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Ashwin.
Chacko, as a marriage counselor, I know that you have a corporate hat, but marriage counselor is a huge hat. You know, many people start well, but as you go along, you find the spice of marriage dies down. Recently, went to visit a friend. So we found out that 15 years of it was their wedding day. So when we went, the wife said, "Husband has gone out roaming somewhere. He'll come back." So the point is, the spice of marriage is not there. What do you think is the fundamental? Where do they lose it out? They start very well, but they lose out, fizzle out somewhere. What could be the practical issues?
I think the program title that you have is little Purpose of Life. So if you have found the purpose of your marriage, then it is spiced up very well. For example, a simple example is my own example. As you rightly said, I work in the corporate, I consult for companies now to multiply their businesses. So one area of my interest is business. The other area is counseling. So here, my wife's interest is prayer. She's a prayer warrior. The other side is counseling. So when it comes to counseling, we both involve together in counseling a couple. So we feel fulfilled in our call, and there is engagement in our
Yeah, but in
life.
your case, because you both understand, but in many cases,
Correct.
not every wife is
exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, if they are able to find the call or the purpose of their marriage, why they
So how do you find that call?
Exactly. What I want to say is that if they are able to find out their call of life together, each of us have a call,
Individual
as a Christian,
call.
individual call.
Okay.
But if you can marry that together, like how you marry two people, and then see what can we do with this call and your skill sets, and give it to the society. For example, one is a good musician, and the other is a Sunday school teacher. Like she likes to teach. Now they can go to church together and do a lot of work at the church, so fulfilling when they come back. So one says, no, that's not my call. I am here to cook. You go and come. There's no spice in that. I feel there's no spice, because the guy would say, okay, I'm doing my ministry, I'm coming back, but I had to pull actually my wife to the ministry. So
But technically, cooking is also a passion.
Is as a passion, but he can't cook. So, but if they both can, he says, okay, one day I can cook for you and let's cook together. So understanding each other's that taste, and it's beautiful actually. So for example, I remember when John Maxwell's training programs were happening in Chennai, I used to tell my wife, come for this
Training.
She said, I don't like this. You call me for any prayer conferences, that's her interest. But somehow I used to carry her and say, come, let's listen to it. Which is, that's not interest. But she used to come because she loved me, and she says, I want to. But today, if you look at all those trainings, have really helped and shaped both of us together. So I have actually invested into her life, she has invested me into my life, and you spice it up. For example, spicing it up, you asked me, how do you not lose the spice? So we need to have a lot of entertainment and fun in marriage. It's not just, coming back, work. You need to take holidays. When I was in the corporate life, every 3 months I would take 2 days holidays, and I just
Taking a break, you call.
Taking a break, going out to see some new places.
Some people think break is a sin,
That's very important to take breaks. Very important to take breaks, and that's we call in the psychological term or in the counseling term self-care. Right? We care about regenerate ourselves, and then spice it up. Do a lot of trekking together. going for hiking and doing things together, which will actually spice up your
whole
marriage.
thing. What type of age groups do people come for when as a counselor? You have different age groups, but also my question is, in marriage itself, it's as much as it's important to start well, it's also important to finish well.
Absolutely.
I know many times the finishing ends up with a little question.
Yeah.
We don't find, especially generally in India, after the parents work hard, they send their children married, then you find the elderly couple, they seem to be disconnected.
Okay, I got your point.
got
what
the
you're trying to say. Now, one of the things in my counseling, I have young couples, middle-aged couples, and also older couple coming to me.
Why would an older couple come?
Yeah. So, for example, before retirement, the man is very busy. Just an example, assuming that he's a banker. This man's job is to be in the bank always.
Correct.
For him, he thinks that he is carrying the bank in his
Yeah, whole life evolves.
life evolves around the bank. And this wife actually is waiting for him to retire and then come back home and enjoy that time. But now she has a problem, because this man used to actually get transferred and he goes around different places, but he's been treated very royally when he comes back home. So 3 days, 4 days, he's treated with good food and all the stuff. He thinks that everything is good, and he sends money home, and they are having a good life, and children have grown up. And when they come back, now she is being watched completely, in the sense like, where are you going? Whom are you talking? There's somebody sitting at home.
Now it's retired.
Retired life. And then, why are you wasting time on the phone? Where are you going now with your friends? So a lot of questioning happens, and they both start having issues. Now, this is one type of counseling that I get, where she doesn't understand me, he doesn't understand me, he puts a lot of restriction in my life. This is a very difficult situation. So we and also the emptiness syndrome. We talk about the emptiness syndrome, where the children have gone and there's nothing to do. So it's important for the couples actually to engage in community work, or we in the religious church context, we say giving back to the society, or working with the church.
In other words, being engaged
mentally in ministry, in some ministry or the other, where both of them are engaged together. That will bring them a good joy. And also, finishing well means their own, I had a couple who came to me for counseling at a very senior aged, right? They said, I want to finish well.
Finish well. They came with a purpose.
They came with a purpose to ask me, I want to finish well. Is there anything that we have missed out in life?
That's very interesting. They come with a very specific.
I was really shocked, because very senior people, and I'm too young for them.
Yeah, correct.
And so we gave them the assessment tool, and then we figured out that certain areas,
even in that experience, also you find certain areas.
Scope for improvement.
Scope for improvement.
That's all I can say, because probably 30, 40 years they would have spent in marriage, but there are certain things still inside. I wish this could have been done by my husband when I got married. This could have been done by my wife, and then we were able to bring that out actually to the table, and immediately the man got charged up, and he was able to say, I will do this from now on to ensure that we finish well. That's a beautiful thing to understand.
I like the thought of them saying,
I want to finish well, which is, for me, it was a very strange counseling experience, because we get more
people come and say, I want to start well, I want to run well.
Lot of problems and conflicts that I have handled, but this was very smooth. Whereas I want to finish well. I don't want to go with any hurt to my wife or my children or my society people. I want to clean up all that. And that was an amazing experience that I had, making them finish well. Every marriage has a season. For example, autumn, winter.
Oh, like
the
a
regular season, like spring, and those seasons are very dry. For example, since you're asking me this, women go through a menopause stage during that time, and it's very difficult for them. And the man may not understand these, these bodily changes. Now, during that time, she feels like, why should I live in this earth? It's time. There are many people who go through depression during that time, and those are the times where the husband is able, if they understand these concepts, they are able to work along with that wife to say that I'm there for you, don't worry, and that's support, and doing household chores, and both of them enjoy their life. I also know that a lot of people who are enjoying their, the fag end of their lives, if they are having Christ in them. The beauty is, if they have, difficulties will surely be there, but if they have gone through those difficulties and they are waiting to end well, and if they have cleaned up all the hurts with their spouse, they really want to end well, and see the glory of God actually descending upon them.
Talk more on this word finishing well. What are the key points we need to take away to see how do we not just run the marriage, but how do we run it joyfully? And you used a very critical word, said with Christ. You're running not alone, you're running with Christ as the anchor. I like that context of how a Christian wedding is. So how do we really run that race and finish well? That's the question. And how do you finish well in marriage? That's the question. Chacko, there are different seasons in life, different seasons in marriage also. You mentioned 4 seasons. I always thought 4 seasons are only for seasons. I never visualized it as a marriage context, but what you said made real sense. Which means there's also a dry season, there's a spring season, there's a autumn.
Summer. Summer is when the teenagers come into play, because your actually energy is sucked out.
Yeah, correct.
The first one is the spring season, where actually excitement of understanding, new people, new set of family and all this stuff. The second season is summer season, then comes spring, and then winter. Winter is the dry season, the finishing well season.
So how do you, it's winter, it's dry, you have lived a legacy, and also finishing well does matter.
True.
I think many people don't, they finish with a very heavy heart. They feel they could have done this, done that. So my question is, since we are in the 4th episode and we need to finish well, so my question is, how do we really enjoy that essence of marriage and finish well? What will be your take on that?
To be honest, when I see so many people to be counseled, and when I come to the fag and to see some older couples, one of the things that they share is that regrets that they have.
Oh, regrets they have.
I wish I could have done this. I could.
But by telling that, what do you get? You already missed it.
Lost.
So
what they are wanting now is the next set of time they want to do it well.
You mean correct it, or?
They want to correct it and say, I want to be happy with my spouse. So
how do you correct it then?
That is when
you can't undo the past, no?
We can't undo the past, but you can ask sorry for that and say, what is that should I do now? And especially during this COVID season, we have seen so many families we have seen, and many have come back, have come to me because they're all staying at home, and so many challenges that they have seen. And I gave you an example of a banker story, right? Like different, those are challenges. But how do you end well? Sometimes physically you may not be able to.
You're not active enough.
Excited to do certain things. But emotionally, you can connect well with the husband and wife, right? So one of the things that we talk about, like cleaning the drainage. Like imagine your sink at home gets blocked.
You have to put the
thing, you have to clean it up, and then the flow has to go, and then that's something which, if you can do that, for example, the husband and wife is able to sit down and talk about those small hurts that they have gone through in their lives, and some of them say, no, it's so hard that I cannot talk. Some of them will end very, very sadly because of remorse that they have been carrying through. So as a Christian, when you want to end well in a marriage, you got to let go of all these things that you have been carrying in your heart, and then ask for forgiveness. That's a beautiful thing about Christ forgiving our sins. and we are able to, if Christ can forgive our sins and we have that confidence of He forgiving us, it's so important that we are able to forgive our own spouse or our children who have, whom we have been
Why do you
hurt
think
with.
that becomes so tough for the spouse to forgive? What do you think could be the reason?
See, for example, it could be, unresolved conflicts that have been happened in the initial days and which has not been dealt with. That's why I said the example of the drain that I talked about.
It gets clogged up.
It's clogged, and you're not actually trying to solve that thing, or trying to take away the dirt from your heart, but those hurts are still settled down in your heart.
Yeah, some people I remember, they'll say, I remember the word they used,
I-
20 years back.
Yeah, I had a counseling situation, a 45 years married couple who came for counseling. She said to me, this is what she said. In those days, you had this big Ray-Ban glasses. So this guy had come in with a Ray-Ban glass, and then
The boy.
Yeah, the boy at that time.
Time.
Yeah, came in with a Ray-Ban glass and was so impressed with the Ray-Ban glass, looks and all the stuff. But later figured out after the marriage, he had a squinted eyes, but he never told about it. That really carried till 45 years until she met me.
Oh, so she was so hurt.
She was so hurt that you cheated me, and she was not able to forgive him.
And 45 years she carried it.
45 years she carried.
I understand.
Now we are able to understand that. So we were able to sit down and talk about it, and then he said, well, I just came for a holiday. Then my father said, go and see a girl. I just came, I saw. You said, I'm okay for me to be married, and then I got married, but I didn't think that this would be a big issue. So we had to sit down and talk about issues that happened 45 years ago.
So all those matters.
All those matters.
In finishing well.
In finishing well. So there are hurts at a cost where they are able to sit down and talk to each other about the finer hurting words that have been spoken, or maybe some incidences that had happened in life. So if you are able to sit down and talk to each other.
Again, communication.
Communication. Basically sharing feelings, thoughts, desires and experience, which I really love to say this, because that's when you can finish well. And also understanding the purpose of life, which you already said.
You said purpose of marriage.
Marriage. Now, if you can understand why God united, I always ask that question. I mean, last time you asked me that question, why on earth did I marry to my wife all the way from, Gudalur? Why can't somebody from the city? Now, then there is a purpose, and if you can start thinking that God put us together for a purpose, that purpose is to glorify Him. And if we are able to, I always talk about the skill metrics of each other.
Skill metrics.
Skill. My wife is a good cook. So I could invite so many people home to do a Bible study.
Use that
gifting to do God's call. Now maybe assuming that I'm a good music teacher, I could teach music for some of them and have them come home and then do a Bible study with them. So this is what in those days it was happening.
Now with COVID it's online. Yeah.
It's online. It's more of online. So if you're able to understand
using the skills of what?
Of each other and saying, am I using the skills to glorify God, which actually brings meaning into our life? Your program is called as Purpose for Life, and I want to tell you that I really get kicked off with this title, Purpose of Life, because if I understood this in 2005 when I attended a leadership training program, from then on my life changed. So we were able to figure out how this coming together of two people, skill metrics, education qualifications, and the work of God in each of our lives, how do we transform that to the society? And if you're able to come quickly, I think not much of conflicts will be there in families. So that because you're actually doing God's work. When you're doing God's work, you don't have much conflict. But if you're doing your work, you have so many conflicts because you're actually trying to get at each other, and
who's bigger, who's
bigger. I know I have counseled a lot of doctors. Now, when they come to us, the profession becomes a problem.
Profession itself becomes
a problem. you know,
Who's right?
whose profession is bigger. For example, a surgeon or a dentist, you know, how would that, you know, it doesn't matter. Both our professions are good, and if we can encourage each other, I think the call of life is being fulfilled. So if they understand the purpose of marriage, that's why I said purpose of marriage. Why are we married? It's not only just for offsprings that we bring in, but to glorify God and to actually you know, work together in a community, in a church, and build families or individuals. If we get focused on the call of life, I think
That
ending
will
well
be-
will be beautiful,
yeah.
because when you look back,
There's always
say, I've
good
done
memories.
something for the Lord.
Yeah, Chacko, there's been a lot of takeaways in not just this program, but just for our audience to know that we have done 3 more. This is the 4th one. So I think if they see all the 4 as a package, you know, there's a lot they can draw from. And what I like in today's episode is we spoke not just about living happy married life, but also finishing well, because many people start well, run well, but don't finish well. So I think there's some huge takeaways there, and I liked again you were stressing on this communication, you know, and you were saying that that's very critical. You know, sometimes you could live together but still lose out on communication.
Very true.
I think that's another key aspect. But I think also family prayer. Just as a closing comment, Chacko, how important is a family prayer in this whole context?
It's
What's
a
your
very
take on that?
important thing, because you know, these are non-negotiable.
Oh, non-negotiables.
Non-negotiable for a Christian, right? Now, when you get up in the morning, you pray. When you end, you pray. During the day, you pray. There are circumstances. So actually, your children watch all these things. How are we handling those crisis situations? And one of the things that we didn't talk about is how important is the leadership aspect of a husband, where he actually steps into the whole aspect of leading the home, you know, as a priest who leads the house.
And that's what God expects.
That's what God expects. So the whole aspect of a Christian marriage is, you know, we call it as holy matrimony. So there's a lot of things that is involved in this holy matrimony, you know, looking at how
So instead of leading, if he's quiet also, it's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. If he's not going to lead, his wife will lead, because you can't blame that, because somebody has to lead. So that's when you find conflict, saying that some men don't lead well, and they actually criticize the woman who takes the lead, and then you know, want to do things. So the important thing is man taking the headship to lead the home, not with authority, but with love, affection, and care. That would be of a great significance, how Christ did for us in this world. So it's a model of Christ's life in us in the marriage, so that we are able to live happily and give.
I think Christ as the anchor makes the
anchor
difference.
base, yes.
So prayer in that whole context, family prayer,
is very important.
very critical.
Very important.
Yeah. So I think on the whole, finishing well, we have learned a lot. So once again, thank you, Chacko, for being with us. And I wish our viewers can view the full 4 episodes and get the juice out of it.
Thank you.
But we'll definitely like to meet you again and see what else we can do when it comes to marriage. It's a large topic. We are also not spoken on the other hat you are having, which is the corporate hat. You help build entrepreneurs.
True.
That's another topic. Maybe we'll do another 4 episodes on that. Sure. But I think it's been thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Ashwin. Thank you for
Thank you.
inviting.
Friends, you're watching Purpose of Life. These 4 episodes are right there. There's a number on the screen. Please feel free to connect with us. If you want to connect with counseling with Chacko and his team, you can also do that. Once again, thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you again in another interesting episode of Purpose of Life.